Welcome to Hoyt's Bowhunting Whitetails. On today's episode, I'm going to make a quick tour of the farm and see which of the subspecies of oak are carrying acorns and find out if it's going to be a good acorn year, and if so, that's going to play real heavily into my early season plans. Hoyt's Bowhunting Whitetails is brought to you by Redneck Blinds, Code of Silence Apparel, Hunt Stand Pro Whitetail, Fuse Accessories, Elevate Tree Stands, B3 Releases and Broadheads, and Hoyt. So we're making a tour of the farm here and looking at different spots where the oak trees are growing and checking for acorns. And here's a white oak that's got quite a few acorns on it. You know, they're just starting. This is the 17th of July. So give this another month and those will be a lot bigger. But again, the whole idea is get out, scout, find the oak trees that are carrying the acorns, because that's where the deer are going to be this fall. So it's good to see, maybe not a bumper crop on the white, but a pretty good crop of acorns on this one. And then that bur oak had quite a few too. So we'll check a few of the red oaks as we go around and see if they're carrying. So this is a red oak. I think it's red, or is it black? It looks like it's a black oak, which is in the same family. But this one's got a ton of acorns on it. And while they may not be quite as preferred as the whites, you know, or the burrs, the deer will definitely still eat these. So that's something to keep in mind. We'll see if we can find a true red oak. I don't see any of them close by here, but like I said, the blacks are kind of in that same family. Looks like it's going to be a really good year for acorns so far from what we've seen. I mean, we've checked a couple different whites. They had acorns, the one burr that we looked at, and then this black. So we'll keep looking and see how the rest of the farm looks. So this is the second black oak tree that we've come up on, and this one's loaded with acorns too. And you know, it's hard sometimes to tell the blacks from the reds, but if you look at the bark pattern, that's the easiest way to tell the difference. The black oak trees are real rough looking bark pattern. They have the same similar leaf pattern that's real spiky on the ends of the lobes, whereas the white oak are rounded on the lobes. And then the burr, they have more like big palmated leaves. So this is the black. We still haven't found a red. I want to check those out, but there's another white right here. Let's take a look at that one. So you can see the leaf, how it's more rounded on the lobes. That's the white oak. But we did notice that some of the white oaks, the acorns were super small. So maybe it's too early to know for sure. Maybe we need to give it a couple more weeks before we can decide. There's another burr right there. Let's walk over and take a look at this burr. Okay, well, I'm really in the sun here. But you can look at the big palmated leaves of the bur oak. It's got the same rounded lobes, but it's just a lot more, you know, larger palmated leaf. Let's see. I'm not seeing acorns on this one yet. So we found another bur oak that's got just a couple of tiny little acorns coming. So that's it, no more for this tree. I've just removed them, but now you can see the little bitty acorns in there. So maybe it's a little, like I said, maybe it's a little too soon to tell on some of these whether they're going to be bearing acorns or not. The tree over to my left, that is a black oak, and you can really see, I'll walk over to it, you can see the really rough bark pattern. See how rough that is? The red oaks are smoother bark pattern, but they still have the, you know, the sharp lobed leaves. So that one that I just pointed out, there's tons of acorns on this one too. So it's going to be bumper crop year for the black oak. I believe this one's a pin oak. At first I thought it was a black because of the bark pattern, but the leaf, it doesn't have the little sharp, distinct lobes. Looks a little bit more like a bur oak leaf, but it's got that bark pattern that resembles the black oak. So I'm thinking that probably that's a pin oak. I'd have to brush up on my oak identification to say that for sure, but it doesn't have any acorns on it. So it's, you know, compared to the other black oaks on the farm, this one would be the only one without any acorns, so it's probably not a black oak. You can even see them up there. See that?
Yeah, on the clumps?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I did find a red oak finally. I can see a couple more here too, but I don't see acorns on those. But sort of maybe typical of the other trees that we've been looking at. It's possible that it's just too early in the development cycle for the acorns to be there. So we'll see if we can find another couple red oaks to look at. But overall, I'd say should be a really good acorn year. And if your area is anything like this, you definitely want to know that, because the first couple weeks of the season is going to be 100% dictated by you know, where the acorns are falling, because that's where the deer will be. They'll walk right through soybeans and corn and alfalfa when those acorns are falling. So early season, find the acorns, find the deer. So here's two more big red oaks. The bottom branches that have leaves on them are so far up that we can't even tell if there's the start of any acorns on them or not. But you can look at the bark pattern. You can see it looks a lot like the black oak bark pattern, except it's smoothed off. Instead of being real rough and ridgy, it just is kind of flat, you know, as the bark kind of comes out away from the tree. So the information bank is incomplete when it comes to red, but we're pretty good on the rest of them.
Oh, yeah.
It's a black. Looks like a red to me, but it could be a black oak, but you can definitely see them all up in there. We're out here filming this acorn scouting tour, and just wanted to show you something that I found really interesting, and that's how aggressively the deer feed on this Queen Anne's lace. This is a spot where we planted the direct seeded acorns back in November of last year, and I did spray herbicide on it, but obviously it didn't do a good enough job on the residual side, and there's just tons of Queen Anne's lace in here. The deer just pounded it. It's almost like it's a preferred food source. Thought you might get a kick out of that, then we'll get back to looking for acorns again. Yeah, I'm not sure, maybe not. I have to look at the leaves a little bit. Well, that's the tour of the farm, the acorn tour, and I'm encouraged by what I've found. It's definitely going to change the way that I look at the first couple weeks of the season. If you can find a spot, especially say white oaks, because the deer do really like the white oaks better than the red and the black. Apparently they just are sweeter. They just taste better to the deer from what all the experts have told me. I'm not a big acorn connoisseur myself. But so let's say you find a grove of white oaks that are holding acorns. That'd be a great spot for the first couple weeks of the season. And I'm gonna find a few more before the summer's over. It's probably a little bit early to find all the trees that are carrying acorns, but within the next couple of weeks, it'd be really prime time to get out, scout for the oak trees that have the acorns on them, and that'll be prime early season hunting. Well, I appreciate you joining me. We'll see you right back here again in the near future for the next episode of Hoyt's Bowhunting Whitetails. And remember to always dream big.